Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Bidi Vapor products are not for sale to people under 21 years old.
Hello, I'm Angel Absetti, veteran writer for the Convenience Channel, and welcome to our webcast. Today, we'll be giving you the latest developments within the vaping category, and specifically what's legal and what's not, as well as the positive momentum building behind one independent manufacturer, Bidi Vapor. With us, we have its founder and chief science officer for the company's U.S. distributor. He's Neeraj, or Raj, Patel of Kaival Brands Innovations Group. Hello, Raj.
Hello, Angel.
And with Raj, we have the president of Kaival Marketing Services, or KMS, which markets Bidi Vapor products. Among them, its top-selling, self-contained vaping device called the Bidi Stick. His name is Russell Quick. Hello, Russ.
Hi, Angel.
We'll also have input from a regulatory specialist in Azim Chowdhury from the law firm Keller Heckman, which is based in Washington, D.C. Hello, Azim.
Hi, Angel. Thanks for having me.
And with that, let's start with a general update of the vaping category. So, Russ, it's early 2023. Where are we now with the vaping category? And if you could, provide an update specifically on flavors and what's legal and what's not.
I'd be happy to, Angel. Thank you for that question. Well, as we all know, regulations around vaping and flavors in particular have been challenging. The FDA shut down just about all manufacturers that sold flavors when it issued what we call an MDO, or marketing denial orders, to 99% of the industry in September of 2021. We got one ourselves, even though we submitted a very comprehensive PMTA, but we're able to get the court first to stay or put on hold our MDO while we appealed the FDA's decision in the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. That stay allowed us to continue selling our flavored products. Then this past August, the 11th Circuit ruled in our favor on the merits of our appeal, holding that the FDA was arbitrary and capricious in their decision. That set aside our MDO, and so now our application for authorization is back in scientific review.
So what does that mean to the market?
Well, that means that KMS, or Kaival Brands, can continue to market Bidi-flavored Bidi sticks, subject to FDA enforcement discretion, of course, while they review our pre-market product applications, or our PMTA, for those flavors.
So, Azim, is there things that the industry needs to know about PMTAs and what's legal and what's not?
Sure. Well, there's a lot to know, and it's quite complicated. And so there's, I guess you could say, a bit of confusion out there in the industry and in the retail sector about what companies are actually allowed to market and sell. I guess just starting from the top, for companies that are marketing traditional tobacco-derived nicotine products, according to the Tobacco Control Act and FDA's deeming rule, those types of products have been regulated since 2016 and are required to have been the subject of a PMTA that was submitted back in September 2020. If a company was able to do that and get their application accepted and filed, the court in Maryland Federal District, which set the deadline, indicated that companies could continue marketing those products without the threat of enforcement for up to a year. Of course, that year ended in September 2021. After that time, only companies, it would be essentially up to FDA under their enforcement discretion to decide whether a product could remain on the market that was still subject to a pending application. But of course, as Russ just mentioned, the majority of companies marketing non-tobacco flavored products who submitted PMTAs had those applications denied because FDA changed their standard of review essentially for flavored products. And so now companies, again, with tobacco-derived nicotine, cannot market products if those products are subject to an MDO.
Well, let's bring Raj in here. MDOs aren't the only challenge facing flavored vape, right? There's an issue of synthetic nicotine. Raj, can you bring us up to speed?
Of course, Angel. As of July 13 of last year, all nicotine that's not derived from tobacco plant and created in laboratories called synthetic nicotine, all those products must come off the market. Makers of the vapor products with a synthetic nicotine should now go through the PMTA process, just like we doing with the Bidi stick. But the difference here is, while the makers of synthetic products go through their PMTA reviews, they cannot sell their product in the stores after July 13, 2022.
Does that restriction apply to Bidi Vapor products?
No, Angel. The July 13 marketing deadlines does not apply to us because all of our products are made with tobacco-derived nicotine and are subjected to pending PMTA, which we are submitted on time. That's why we had to turn our PMTAs back in 2020. All vaping products with the e-liquid derived from tobacco had to submit PMTA by September 2020, and which we did. Many manufacturers choose to go around the FDA by using synthetic nicotine, and now Congress and FDA have caught up with them.
Azim, do you have more thoughts on synthetics?
Well, Raj is right on point. And just to provide a little more context, what happened here legally is that back in the beginning of 2022, because of the flood of synthetic nicotine products coming to market, Congress actually changed the definition of a tobacco product. Whereas previously, the definition in the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act was limited to products that contain tobacco-derived substances like Bidi sticks, which contain tobacco-derived nicotine. In March 2022, Congress amended the definition to expand it to include not just tobacco-derived substances, but also any product that contains nicotine from any source. And so with that stroke of a pen, synthetic nicotine products all became regulated tobacco products subject to all those same requirements under the Tobacco Control Act, including pre-market review. Of importance, though, not only did Congress expand the definition and capture all these products, but it also created a new PMTA deadline. So whereas the PMTA deadline for the traditional products was back in 2020, Congress said, we're going to give companies 60 days until May 14th, 60 days after the enactment of the legislation, to submit a PMTA. And companies who are able to submit applications on time by that deadline would be given an additional 60 days, which is the July 13th deadline that Raj mentioned, to market their products without the threat of enforcement. After July 13th, the statute says that products without authorization from FDA, without actual PMTA marketing granted order, are essentially illegal, need to come off the market. Of course, that's technically the case for all products that are not subject to authorizations at this point, and it's up to FDA to enforce. And so I think that's where companies like Bidi and others who are striving for compliance are really hoping to see additional enforcement from FDA and other authorities.
Okay, let's bring it back to Bidi for a second. Russ, so we have a favorable court decision, and Bidi is derived from tobacco, not a synthetic product. That means you're legal, right, Russ?
We are one of only a handful of vaping companies left that can market flavored vape. This is, of course, once the FDA has made their final marketing authorization on the products and our product has went through the PMTA review process.
So Azim, we just heard about regulations coming down on vaping companies. Do you have anything to add about the PMTAs, the MDOs, synthetic nicotine?
Sure. So following up on Russ's comment, we are seeing increased enforcement from FDA. The agency has issued hundreds of letters to companies who submitted synthetic nicotine pre-market applications. in many cases, the FDA's focus is on companies who did not submit PMTA. So companies who failed to submit by the deadline or who chose not to submit anything at all are bearing the brunt of the FDA warning letters. We're also seeing, with respect to the companies that did submit PMTAs, a whole bunch of refusals from FDA. So the FDA is going through these applications with a very fine-tooth comb, I think much more so than they did in 2020, and they are denying and refusing to accept applications for reasons that previously they didn't, for technicalities, for missing signatures and letters of authorizations, for master files, for example. So they are treating these very carefully and refusing and denying applications whenever possible. We've also seen enforcement from the DOJ, the Department of Justice. They have sued companies in federal court who continue to market products without submitting PMTAs. Now, oddly enough, it does appear that FDA and DOJ's enforcement is focused on the smaller U.S. companies, vape shops, manufacturers making e-liquids for open systems, which by and large don't have the same market share and impact on things like youth vaping that companies that are pushing disposables and products from China, counterfeits, PMTA products that are not subject to PMTAs. And that's where I think we're seeing a lack of enforcement from FDA. So that's from a high level what I'm seeing. I'm sure Raj and Russ have more insight on that issue.
Well, let's go a little further if we could. What are the penalties involved for wholesalers and retailers caught selling this non-compliant product?
Well, anyone that's selling, marketing, or distributing an adulterated tobacco product, and that can be anything that's, again, not subject to a PMTA at this point, which is again, anyone who other than a few handful of companies that have authorization, but in particular, those companies who just, are entering the market every day with what appear to be new products, new technology, new different types of quote unquote disposables. The penalties for marketing a product like that, which is a prohibited act under the FDCA, range from initially getting warning letters from FDA to eventually increased enforcement, such as seizures of products, court-ordered injunctions to stop selling products or to get out of the business. FDA also has the option of seeking criminal prosecution against companies that are violating the law, and that can range from misdemeanor convictions to felonies in cases where we see public harm. But we haven't seen FDA bring down the hammer to that extent in this industry. But as I mentioned, we are seeing FDA and the DOJ get involved more and in issuing at least the preliminary warning letters and some product seizures. But I think we could see a lot more of it hopefully soon.
So it may sound obvious, selling legal products is the way to go. Well, that must be a good feeling, Russ, to know you're being as compliant as possible.
Yes, it would be if we weren't for all the illegal and counterfeit products that continue to flow and flood the market. We see products on the shelves that we know have no PMTAs or have MDOs or are just flat out synthetic. And none of that seems to be going away.
So Raj, why do you think that is?
Angel, it's a complex, but what I can say is we have not seen any real enforcement activity in the field, and enforcement is the key. And enforcement should occur at the wholesale and retail levels along with the manufacturers, because many manufacturers company change their company names and brand names after receiving an MDO or warning letters, and they're relaunching the product back into the market.
Wow. Azim, what's your take on where the market stands?
Well, as I mentioned, It's a confusing, complicated area, and it's hard. And I don't envy those who are in the shoes of the retailers who are trying to figure out what is compliant and what's not. The bottom line is retailers, wholesalers, and distributors need to be aware that they are subject to breaking the law and penalties from FDA as well as the state authorities for marketing and distributing adulterated products. And so it's critical for those businesses to be aware and to obtain confirmation from your suppliers about the legality of the products, and to understand that you just having a PMTA acceptance letter doesn't necessarily mean the product is legal to market, right? The PMTA being submitted and accepted just means FDA is reviewing the application. It's not an authorization to sell the product, and there's a lot of confusion about that on the marketplace, I think.
Oh, and just to follow up, Raj, has Bidi done anything regarding enforcement or addressing the enforcement issue?
Yes, we're doing our best to reach out to the states, local, and federal agencies. We do what we can, but we are the only small and independent company. We raise awareness where possible, but we must also stick to our core missions, which is to offer adult smokers a true options to combustible cigarettes with a stringent youth access prevention measures and sustainability at the same time.
What do you mean by sustainability?
We have always had a recycling program with our Bidi sticks. Unfortunately, in the last couple of years, we had to adjust the program to come into compliance with the PACT Act and the U.S. Postal Service delivery restrictions. And our international partners, Philip Morris Products International, it's a major global players, and they have also initiated the recycling options overseas. And so our intention towards sustainability are expanding. But let's come back to the US. We are the first company to develop the program that recycles their own devices. Because we are the first, the proper regulations are not in place to support our initiatives, but we are fighting to change the rules to keep the programs active and do our parts to reduce our carbon footprints while addressing our adult smokers' needs.
So, continuing on that thought and where things stand, tell me, Russ, how do you feel about the new year ahead?
Oh, well, Angel, that's exciting. It's our time. We continue to see challenges with the enforcement issues and the bad actors, but through all that, Bidi is emerging stronger and better equipped to handle this and actually partner with several of our retailers. So 2023, that's going to be our year. We're going to see a lot of new partnerships with a lot of major retail partners, and we're really excited about this next year.
And Raj, I'll leave it for you for any last thoughts.
Yes, Angel. We have spent a lot of time, energy, and money developing our PMTA with the science, clinical trials, and many consumer surveys. All our research shows that you can give our adult smokers a true alternative while at the same time minimizing the youth appeal. It can be done. We have history of doing it. And our hope is that FDA, lawmakers, and members of community look at the science and realize that category and the flavor options can move us towards the smoke-free futures when we apply a stringent youth measures around the sales and marketing of this viable products like Bidi.
Thank you, Raj. And thank you, Russ and Azim. That's it for today's Vaping Update. I'm Angel Absetti. Thanks for your time and have a great day.